Welcome to Investor's Guide, India's longest running personal finance show. And I know so many of you have written to us saying you've been watching for the last 3 or 4 years. We're so glad to have you. This week, we specially dedicate an entire episode to our retired viewers. And we'll help you invest your money during your retirement years so your money works for you and gives you a regular income. You can write to us. Our email ID is at the bottom of your screen right now. Let's get straight to it. Right on top of the show, we'll tell you how to beat inflation, save tax, and make money from your retirement corpus. In our product review this week, we look at the Template India pension plan. We'll see if it's worth your money. And we'll tell you how to invest your money and get a regular income if you're an NRI who plans to settle in India after you retire. Well, the golden years are here and you can now sit back and enjoy your well-deserved retirement. For all of these years, you've been worried about buying a home, your children's education, getting them married. All of that is done. You've saved enough right now. It's time to make your money work for you. What we've done this week is put together 6 rules that you should follow if you're 60. Take a look.
There is a lot you can do in order to live a long and healthy life after you retire. Exercise is an excellent way to prevent a lot of health problems. But tending to your financial health is just as important. And here are 6 rules at 60 to keep your finances hale and hearty. Rule number 1. Set aside some funds as contingency. After retirement, there is more need for an emergency fund, and it is important to keep aside 3 to 6 months of monthly expenses as contingency available as cash in your bank account.
As far as retired persons are concerned, we recommend 6 months reserve. The reason for larger amount is they are dependent on the returns that come from interest and dividend, etc. Now, in case there are some issues, either because the performance of those particular schemes are not good and hence the dividends that come are less, or there's certain technical issues and your interest amount doesn't come, then you are not kind of left in lurch.
If you're a retiree and your children are settled abroad and you think that at the drop of a hat you may need to visit them, then you need the cost of a visa and tickets to be part of that emergency fund, because if you need to go tomorrow, you won't have the time to be able to figure out your fixed deposits and redemptions, etc. in time.
The second rule is to ensure you have adequate health cover. Retirement is the time when you need health cover the most. Family floaters may not extend benefits you may need, and it is best to buy an individual health cover for you and your spouse.
The rule of thumb today would be a minimum of 5 lakhs per person in an urban setting, but again that's a minimum. Depending on your lifestyle and what type of medical treatment you are accustomed to, it could be higher and actually significantly higher as well.
Here's a list of health covers for seniors. The Silver Health Policy from Bajaj Allianz, and the maximum entry limit is up to 70 years. The Senior Citizen Red Carpet from Star Health, where the age limit is up to 75 years. This plan also ensures guaranteed renewal beyond 75. An online policy, CARE, is available from Relegon Health Insurance and has no entry age limit. The Senior Citizen Mediclaim Policy from New India Assurance. The entry age limit is up to 80 years, and if the policy is renewed without a break, it can continue up to 90 years. The Heartbeat Family First from Max Bupa. This health cover comes with no entry age limit. And finally, the Varishta Mediclaim from National Insurance, with an entry age limit up to 80 years. Remember, policies with no entry age limit will charge a high premium. And to reduce your worries, buy a cover on your 60th birthday. If you want a policy with a lower premium, then you should buy the policy on your 50th birthday. Rule number 3. Invest to get a regular income. Now, depending on your risk appetite, you can opt for a conservative or an aggressive investment method to regularize your monthly income. And here's a list of investments you can make for a regular monthly income. The Senior Citizen Savings Scheme, the Post Office Monthly Income Scheme, Bank Fixed Deposits, Corporate Fixed Deposits, Long-Term Government Bonds, Monthly Income Plans from Mutual Funds, Annuities from Insurance Companies, the New Pension Scheme, reverse mortgage offered by nationalized banks, and income funds. Rule number 4, invest in equity to beat inflation. Now, inflation is a major factor which eats into your savings, putting your capital at risk. Investing in debt alone will provide stability to your portfolio but will not help beat inflation. Rule number 5, invest to minimize your taxes. Retirement does mean a happy life, but sadly it is not the end to your tax troubles. You may have to pay tax if you do not invest in the right products.
Retirees don't have any tax vehicle which is specially for them and it is tax free. But if you look at the investment options available, all fixed income will be taxable, but return from equity held for over 1 year is entirely tax free.
Rule number 6, it is important to balance your portfolio. As we keep saying on this show, to strike the right balance between risk and return, it is not wise to put all your eggs in one basket.
Retiree should look at a balanced portfolio. Just one asset class will therefore negate and not be able to meet the overall objective. So if you're only in debt, then we have to be worried about how you counter inflation. If you're only in equity, then we have to worry about what you do for your cash flows, because your regular source of income from employment has ceased now.
Remember, it is important for you to write a will for your loved ones to save them from the financial challenges in the event of an unforeseen circumstance. The process to write a will is fairly simple. You can write a will on a piece of paper that clearly expresses your thought process. It need not be on a stamp paper, nor is it mandatory to register a will. All you need is 2 witnesses younger than you while signing. A handwritten will in legitimate handwriting is also accepted.
Right, I hope you wrote that down. It's time for me to bring in Dhirendra Kumar, the CEO of Value Research and our in-house mutual fund expert who joins us on this show every week. Dhirendra, thank you so much for joining us on this special episode for senior citizens. Let's get straight to our portfolio segment. Our first question comes in from Krishna Kittur, who joins us from Bangalore right now. He's retired and he wants help with his investment plan. Krishna.
I am Krishna Kittur, 64 years old, living in Bangalore. I retired from the central government service as a Group A officer, and I get my pension, 32,000. I have the rented income also. Totally, I have about 7.5 lakhs as the annual income. I have about 25,000 rupees surplus money for investment. Basically, my goals are how to beat the inflation, and the second, and reduce the income tax liability. And you people are doing a wonderful job in helping investors to have their proper investment, and I'm sure you'll guide me, and thank you.
Krishna, thank you so much for getting in touch with us, and we're so glad that you watch the show regularly. Dhirendra, Krishna, like most of our other retired viewers, really wants to beat inflation and avoid tax. And he wants to know, so far, as you've seen it's his plan, are you impressed with the insurance that he has, with the money that he set aside? Would you like to make some basic changes to his portfolio?
Yeah, one is that, he should clearly articulate his goals, and he has been able to do that. But surely these investments are, too spread, and they don't reflect his aspiration in terms of it should be tax efficient, and my sense is that it should be better organized. He should have fewer investment, more organized, because his income needs are more than adequately met by his pension and the fixed income that is deriving.
Let's take a look at his mutual fund investments. Canara Robeco Balanced, UTI Leadership, UTI India Lifestyle and HDFC Focus Large Cap. These are all lump sum investments. They obviously don't seem to be, there doesn't seem to be a thought that strings these 4 funds together. Would you like him to change his portfolio?
Yes, I would say that these investments are actually very random investments made at certain point. They do not reflect any strategy. And going by, for somebody like him, he needs fixed income, and that is best achieved with a balanced fund. And so I would say that our growth and stable growth portfolio is the best way for him to achieve this.
All right, so it's very clear learning that we have right now as far as senior citizens are concerned. If you're at home watching, Dhirendra, they're telling you very clearly, you need to articulate your goals, figure out what money needs to pay you a regular income and what money needs to be set aside for the future to beat inflation. If you need a regular income, it goes into the senior citizen savings scheme. If you're beating inflation, it goes into a balanced fund. And our recommended balanced funds are on your screen right now. This is our stable growth portfolio. Remember, you can write back to us if you have any more questions about anything you've heard so far. Well, Srinivas Rao has written in, Dhirendra, he's 59 years old. He tells us he's retired, and comfortably so. He's retired with a corpus of 1.5 crore rupees that's liquid right now that he would like to invest. Now, he tells us he wants to start off by investing 50 lakh rupees, so it generates a monthly income, and the remaining 1 crore rupees he wants to put aside for the long term. Now, you normally recommend that if we want to generate an income from our money as senior citizens, we have to consider the senior citizen savings scheme, but it gives him a limit of 15 lakh rupees. So 15 lakh rupees in the senior citizen savings scheme. What should he do with the remaining amount?
The remaining amount, he has limited options. He can go for the post office MIP for him and his spouse. So that will generate, that can take another, 8 to 10 lakh, 12 lakh rupees, and then bank deposits. And because his need will be, if his need is to have a very, non-negotiable, predictable income from this 50 lakh rupees, these are the limited option. The problem here is that all his income from this investment will be taxable beyond 3 lakh rupees. The 1 crore which has to be invested for the long run, it's very crucial that he invests in a manner that it is tax efficient, it is able to beat inflation, and the way to do it is invest in a balanced fund or in a set of balanced fund. There his money will be 30% invested into fixed income, 70% into equity. All the returns derived from these balanced funds will be tax free if held for over 1 year.
I'm going to take you through a quick recap of what we've learned from Dhirendra in this segment. Remember, if you're retired, you have to start with an emergency fund, liquid cash at home, about 3 or 4 lakh rupees in a fixed deposit that you can access in emergency. You have to have health insurance. Make sure you have adequate health insurance. After that, if you're generating an income, the senior citizen savings scheme should be top of the list, post office MIPs and bank fixed deposits. And then finally, to beat inflation over the long term, balanced funds that are on your screen right now. Write that down. If you have any more questions, you can reach us. Coming up after the break, Dhirendra is going to stay with us. We'll talk about the Franklin India pension plan. We'll find out if it's worth your money. Welcome back. You're watching Investor's Guide in ET Now. Thank you for staying with us. It's time for our product review. And given the number of questions we've got about this particular fund, asking if it's a good enough fund for retired people, we're going to take a look at it for the first time. This is the Templeton India pension plan. Avan is here to give us an introduction. Avan.
Thanks for that, Faye. Well, our fund in focus this week is the Templeton India pension plan. This fund is designed to serve as a long-term pension plan. So while it is tax deductible under Section 80C, it differs from all the other ELSS funds because the lock-in is linked with your age. Any money withdrawn before you reach the age of 58 will attract an exit fee of 3%. The fund invests 40% of its assets in equity and 60% in debt to provide the portfolio stability, which makes this a debt-oriented hybrid fund. So let's compare it to its peers. Amongst its category, the fund stands 12th in position. During the market downturn in 2008, it faced its worst period, losing 16%, and then it recovered in 2009, giving a return of 27%. The returns, however, were in line with the category average. But if you are risk-averse and are looking for a safe bet, should this fund be a part of your portfolio? Our experts are here to give you the answer. With that, it's back to you, Faye.
All right, Avan, thank you so much for that introduction. First time we're reviewing this plan on the show, Dhirendra, Templeton India pension plan. It's an interesting fund. It has the tax benefits of a pension plan. It has a very heavy exit charge of 3% if the money is withdrawn before the age of 58. And this is not normally how a mutual fund functions. Would you say this fund is at all a contender for our pension money?
No, not really. This is a conservative fund. Don't look at it from any other angle. In its long history, it has been able to deliver over 12% return annualized, which is decent. But at the same time, I think, you cannot bank on this fund to generate income for you. But it is almost like a ELSS. With a rider that there will be an exit load if you withdraw your money till you retire, before your retirement. That apart, it gets you under get you the tax break under your tax benefit under Section 80C. So exactly the way you invest in a tax saving fund, investment up to 1 lakh rupee, and you are entitled for deducting that investment from your income for computing your taxes. This fund gets you that benefit. But that apart, there is nothing there is nothing in the design that which makes me think that it is very pension oriented. It's a conservative balanced fund.
All right, Dhirendra, finally, you have given this fund 2 stars on value research. From the point of view of Investors Guide, what's your rating for this fund?
It remains a 2-star fund. Also because for this allocation, for the kind of comparison we are making, though the comparable funds are not pension funds, or they will not entail the ATC benefit, but on a risk-adjusted performance scale for this allocation, it is not an outstanding fund.
All right, so 2 stars there for the Templeton India pension plan on Investors Guide. We have time for a couple of more questions from more retired people who've written in. Well, John writes in, Dhirendra, he works overseas and he'll retire next year. He plans to come back to India and settle down. He's not very confident of being able to get a job in India. He tells us he has a corpus of 10 lakh rupees and he wants to know if he can invest that money and generate a monthly income of 15,000 rupees. Now, 15,000 rupees a month from an investment of 10 lakh rupees seems like a really tough ask. Would you recommend he goes ahead and invests this money, or should he be looking at generating a fresh income from somewhere else?
No, I think John will be in for a very nasty surprise, because generating 15,000 rupees a month will mean generating 1.8 lakh rupees a year from an investment of 10 lakh rupees, which is 18% return post-tax for his needs. This is just not possible. Possible that 18% return can be generated over the next 10 years on a 10 lakh rupee investment, but if one is drawing income of 18% on a monthly basis, 18% per annum on a monthly basis, he runs the risk of eating into his capital, and that money will stop working. Guaranteed income requirement, as we said, that 9%, he will get half of that money, and that too payable on a quarterly basis from Senior Citizen Savings Scheme.
All right, John, so the best option you have right now is the Senior Citizen Savings Scheme, but you'll only be able to generate half the return that you're expecting. So it does seem like the corpus is going to fall short of your expectations. If you need more help, write back to us. You possibly have to consider other forms of income as well. We'd be glad to help you if you can get back in touch with us. Dhirendra, thank you so much for taking time out and answering our questions on Investors Guide. Coming up after the break, we'll tell you where to invest your monthly income after you've retired. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Investors Guide on ET Now. Thank you so much for staying with us. It's time for me to bring in my asset allocation expert, and that's Vishal Kapoor, who joins us from Standard Chartered. Vishal, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Meetu has written in. She writes on behalf of her father, who's officially retired. He's 62 years old, but he works with a friend, and he's currently earning a monthly income of 60,000 rupees. Now, she wants to invest this money on his behalf, and she wants to know where he should be putting that money. Should he be putting it in a tax saving option or the Senior Citizen Savings Scheme? Vishal, what would you like him to do?
Meetu, for your father, since he's just retired, I would think that a portfolio with a large portion of fixed income with some amount of equity may be a good way to go. For the fixed income portion, one could look at either fixed income mutual funds, which have a reasonable post-tax return, or a Senior Citizen Savings Scheme, because that also qualifies under Section 80C, and therefore the contribution itself has some benefits for tax purposes. On the equity side, one could look at some diversified mutual funds. So between the two, I think you should have a good portfolio that provides regular returns as well as provides a cover for inflation for the future.
We have another question. Ishwar Rao has written in. He's 64 years old. He received a lump sum amount of 32 lakh rupees when he retired. Now, he tells us he invested 24 lakh rupees in fixed deposits, 4 lakh rupees in a corporate fixed deposit, and 3.25 lakh rupees in equity mutual funds. He also has 50,000 rupees in a gold fund and 30,000 rupees set aside for emergency. He wants to know if his portfolio is on track. Now, obviously, he won't be able to pull the money out of that corporate FD until it matures. But 24 lakh rupees in fixed deposits, Vishal, are you comfortable with that asset allocation? Would you like him to move it around a little bit?
Mr. Rao, your portfolio overall looks in pretty good shape, I would think. Just a couple of areas that I wanted to highlight. Firstly, wanted to check if you do have adequate health insurance cover, because if you've not, then that's an area you should look at. Second, I didn't really understand why you would want to look at a small portion in gold. Typically, unless you have a need for physical gold or you're looking at something that is linked to gold, that's not an asset class that would naturally make sense. Also because it's not returning you anything, and in your retirement years, you want every penny to return you something. The third area that we should look at in terms of your tax planning, you have looked at PPF, but a senior citizen savings schemes could be another alternative that you could look at. You do qualify as a senior citizen, so that's an attractive option to my mind that you should consider. The last thing I would think is that if you have the appetite for a bit more of equity risk, then you could consider. You currently have about or less than 10% of equity exposure, so that is something you could review only if you have the appetite for a bit more equity. Now, ELSS, the equity linked savings schemes, which are part of the tax planning bucket under Section 80C, may be one way to sort of try and approach that as well.
All right, last question on the show. A.S. Pasari has written in. He's a senior citizen. He wants to know if he can generate a monthly income that's higher than the rate that his fixed deposit is giving him right now. Vishal, there are options, but they're not without risk. What would you like him to do?
Mr. Pasare, for your need of having a monthly income which is better than a fixed deposit, I'm assuming it is on a post-tax basis. Now, for a post-tax basis better than a fixed deposit, an instrument that you could consider is a fixed income mutual fund. What that will do is provide returns which are better taxed or tax advantaged because it applies for capital gains tax. So that is one product. The monthly income part through that product could be met through a systematic withdrawal plan. So after you've invested, maybe after a year that you've invested, the returns could be extracted or redeemed from the fund through a monthly check that you receive through a withdrawal plan, which an advisor could advise you with. The alternative product you could consider is a senior citizen savings scheme. It has some advantages in the investment that you make because it's covered under Section 80C, and the returns are actually competitive to a fixed deposit. So those are the two that I think favor a fixed deposit under current market situations.
All right, we've run out of time on this show, but remember, we always have room for our retired viewers. Write to us. Our email ID is at the bottom of your screen. Vishal, thank you so much for spending time with us this week and answering our questions. Remember, you find a copy of this show on our Facebook page, and you can reach me personally on Twitter. Tune in next week to catch the show. Thanks for watching.